for today is why Black people shouldn't vote. And again, be patient with me as I'm having some technical difficulties, and also my throat is a little irritated. I've been doing a lot of gardening, and it's my allergies caught up with me. Or allergies, not my allergies. Allergies caught up with me. And I know that the topic is a little controversial. However, when you have the information that I'm going to share with you, and you understand the information that I'm going to share with you, then you are going to understand the reasons why I say that Black people shouldn't vote, or at least consider going over this information, sharing it with your significant other, your family, and then making a decision from there. You see, there's a lot of things that are going on in our community today, and one would not be hard-pressed to understand why a person who looks like me would say that Black people should not vote. So I want you who already know this information and where I'm going with it to share it with your friends or family members that you may want to understand some of the things that some of your views, and maybe would better listen to somebody else, okay? So welcome, peace, namaste, grand rising, and ashe. I am Freedom Imani Ashe-El, a Moorish American national, Aboriginal and Indigenous native of North America, formerly known as Morocco, formerly known as Africa, now known as the United States of America, formerly known under my wardship name of Vivian Gale Bennett, and doing business as Vivian or Freedom Gale. I am the founder of the Personal Freedom Center located in Auburn, Washington. I am also, as a relative to you, or who I am is relative to you as you are to me, okay? As a race of deliberately damned, misidentified, and misclassified heirs known as Black, Negro, Colored, and African American, but instead we are Israelites, okay? We are going to take a look at some of the reasons and why I say this, and some of the things that we can do instead of voting. So I invited you guys here today because I have a message to share with you of the utmost importance, a message in which I hope to help wake you up to the true nature of the system of government that many who are still quote-unquote citizens are in blind destructive subjection to. And again, I repeat, many who are still quote-unquote United States citizens are in blind and destructive subjection to. I want you to know what it means to truly be labeled or called Black, Negro, Colored, and African American, etc. I am fully convinced that once you clearly begin to understand that you are not a color, that who you are should never be referred to as a color, that you will be empowered to stand in this newly found truth. Being labeled as a color is what eradicated the truth of who you and I really are. Color is only significant when it points you in the direction of knowing your nationality, of knowing your bloodline, of your ancestors, of who your ancestors are, and what it is that is yours and ours by divine right and by divine appointment, okay? So through the plight for so-called Black or African Americans, Negroes, and Coloreds, though our plight has had highs and it's had many lows over the past few centuries, we can all agree that the lows that we endure are and have been so devastatingly inhumane, and that we dare to allow the memories of the treatment of our ancestors and the injustices of our people still today to encompass our minds, or to just linger in our minds a little bit too long, because then we'll begin to feel the pain, and anger and rage will be produced by in our minds by unrequited hearts, manifested into hatred, negativity, and or violent behaviors that we see spilling over into our communities and into our streets today. So while you are here with me today, let's get an understanding of what nationality is. And what that isn't being an Afro-American, a Negro, Black, or colored citizen. I'm sorry. And that it isn't about being African-American, Negro, Black, colored, or a United States citizen. And what it really means for you and me, what it means to and for us as a people, and let's visit the reasons together here today. Let's look at why our history is so important that it was hidden from us for centuries, and why we were enslaved, forbidden to learn how to read, and why our women were raped and ravished, why our lands were stolen from us, and why the very history, our very history and the wonders of ancient Egypt were buried and destroyed, and why hundreds of years later, our people are being murdered right in front of our eyes, while we stand by watching helplessly, like our ancestors watched their loved ones hung up on a tree, whipped with barbed wire, and put to death for the mere wanting of their own personal freedom. The same freedoms that we fight for today: dignity, honor, respect, equality, clean food and clean water and food, okay? And the rightful ability to just look into the mirror and see our own divinity and our own loveliness and our own beautiful shades of glory that we are, okay? So our race is shrinking daily because of murder, disease, starvation, and the like, while the world carelessly stands by watching, barely shedding one tear. Until recently, as we witnessed with the protest rioting and apologies to Blacks from higher-ups and dignitaries. But our color alone is not the reason why we are treated horrifically. And guys, I'm here to tell you today that we are not treated solely this way because of the color of our skin. And it's because of our nationality, our bloodline, and it's because of who God says who we are, who Allah says we are, who the Most High and who the Creator says we are. So, and who history says that we are, as we will continue to look and examine some of those things today. So thank you for joining me. And if you're here, you can tag some other people. I had intended to screen share, but I was having some technical difficulties, so I get to hold the phone in my hand, which is okay because I can turn it around and show you stuff on the screen here. So I am Freedom Imani Ashael, formerly known under the worship name of Vivian Gail Bennett. I am a Moorish American national in my proper person and my proper in proper persona sugeris and proprio solo and proprio heredis at all times and in all points in time. Okay, so some of the things that we're going to look at today are who are the Moors and why you and I should never allow ourselves to be termed as Negroes, Blacks, colored, or African Americans, and we should never again refer to ourselves as such, and why Blacks, Americans, Negroes, colors, etc. have been taught to us instead of our true nationality. Some of the things that happen when you try and make a video, and you make videos all the time, is really amazing. And I've been using this software, this screen capture software, and it works every day. I could barely even get on Facebook on my computer, and I'm on Facebook every day, all day, just like you guys. And, you know, so nevertheless, I'm going to continue, and may probably turn my camera around in a minute. And I do have notes, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I want to make sure I don't miss anything. So when people are watching this now, or if you're watching it later, you'll be able to share some of these documents with your friends and be able to see it for yourself. I don't like teaching and telling people what I think only, or people leaving any type of teaching session and saying so-and-so said. They should be able to point to the information, and I should be able to point them into the right direction where they can see the information for themselves, read it, deliberate over it, and be able to have that opportunity to own it as truth or not. Okay, so a lot of times when I first started studying some of these things, it was very hard to swallow. It was shocking. But I was seeking the truth, and I was seeking the truth because I realized in the Bible said, come out of Babylon. At some point after reading that scripture over and over again, I realized that it was telling me to do it. And so if it was telling me to do it, I need to figure out how that I am supposed to come out of Babylon. And so I began searching. And some of the first things that I found, and I shared with you guys before, was about the straw man. But I want to we'll get back to that a little bit later. And I'll give you some references if you don't know where to find them. And if you do, you can just skip that part at the end. So a little bit of history. Let's first look at a couple of definitions. And I'm going to turn the camera around. I hope. Okay. Yay, something's working. Okay, so here we see some definitions of the word American. Okay, so American and the Webster's, my Webster's, I have 1940 unabridged dictionary. And this one says, pertaining to America, American is a noun, a native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals, the copper-colored races found here, meaning in America, by the Europeans, but now applied to descendants of Europeans born in America. Okay, so how did that happen? How did it go from being applied to copper-colored races found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europe's born in America? So what I attempt to do in my videos is answer the questions that I wanted answers to early on, to answer the questions for people who are still struggling to understand and comprehend the reasons why they are being treated the way that they are as African Americans or even corporate citizens. Okay, so a lot of these things that I'm talking about specifically early on in this video apply specifically to people of color or Moors. Okay, you are a Moor if you're a person of copper-colored skin, as you will see, and native to America, or Aboriginal. So it tells us three things here. It tells us that we are native, and that we are native to America originally, and that we are Aboriginal, and that we are copper-colored races. And so this definition here gives us a whole lot of information. If you want to send just this picture alone, or this definition alone to anybody who might not know. So the word Aboriginal is also defined in the Webster's Unabridged Dictionary as, let's see, it has Aboriginal, an adverb, C, origin, first original. Aboriginal people are the first inhabitants of a country. Aboriginal, an original inhabitant. The first settlers in a country are called Aboriginals, as the Celts in Europe and Indians in America. So even though it's true that there were Indians here, there were Moors here, and that there are Moorish tribes, such as the Washita, that are native to this land. I should have got some pictures, but if you go on Google and type in Washita Indians, you will get to see a lot of pictures of what that looked like for us back then. Okay, so now we're going to go on and continue to the word indigenous. and see that it's used as an adverb. Native, the first definition says it's a native, born in a country. Applied to persons. 2, native, produced naturally in a country or climate, not exotic, which applies to vegetables. It's interesting that it comes from the word indigent, or it's related to the word indigent, which means destitute of property or means of comfortable sustenance, needy and poor, because that is exactly what we have been, people with copper-colored skin, reduced to on our own land. Okay, so in this presentation, I will continue to disclose to you who we are and why this matters. We are Moors, how we are Moors, the true Israelites and heirs of this great kingdom, of this vast estate flowing with milk and honey, as is described in Scripture. It was always ours, and we will again rule and reign as heirs and children of the Most High. So these are the reasons why we are referred to as Negro, black, colored, etc., and African Americans. This has always been harmful to our existence and erases the knowledge of our lineage, of who we are on our vast estate, located right here in America, El Morocco, and the nations of the world. This is why it is high time that we recognize and change our status from being slaves to heirs, so we can turn the ship around together, standing united as one, and taking our power back, our nation back. And I and all people of copper-colored melanated skin in the United States and abroad are nobles of the El Moroccan Empire, which is known today as North America. Okay, so what I'm going to share with you also is some of United States code as we continue to look at reasons why we should not vote. Okay, some of our history there. Moors are copper-colored people and properly referred to as Negro, black, and colored. Okay, African heirs and descendants of ancient Egyptian Moabites. And there is a really good video, and I'll give you the link to it later, that offers absolute proof that Moors are that copper-colored skin, and Moors are the descendants of the Moabites. Okay. So I am not black and you are not black, and those are derogatory terms that we should not allow ourselves to be referred to as. Okay, our dominion of the Moors are Egyptians from the land of Moab who settled and inhabited northwest Africa. And they were the founders and are the true possessors of the land of present Moroccan Empire. This includes Algiers, Tunis, Tripoli, Mauritania, and the Americas, with their Canaanite, Hittite, and Amorite brethren who sojourned from the land of Canaan, seeking new homes. And you can see that on the Moorish American Declaration. All the information I love that you would need to help you understand more clearly who we are and where we come from is contained in the declarations and the proclamation when we make that change, okay? And when we make that decision, and it's there for our benefit and our understanding, and it's there as we share it with the United States corporations that we do share it with, so that they can receive the reasons why and understand the reasons why that we are saying the things that we are saying, and why we are standing firmly on the truth of who we are, because it's all in history. Okay, it's not a secret anymore. Sometimes people study. I want to compare my experience to studying Moorish history, to studying various religions. I've always said I was a truth seeker, and I've studied every pretty much religion, pantheism to, of course, I grew up in the Christian church, Church of God in Christ, and became a Seventh-day Adventist when I was 19. And over the years, I just studied Buddhism, Hinduism, you know, pantheism, anything that I can get my hands on. And I remember reading the Egyptian Book of the Dead and thinking, wow, these 10 commandments come straight up out of the Egyptian Book of the Dead. So some of the things that you read, even when you're younger, it doesn't click. Like if you even read in Genesis and it talks about Egypt and the Nile River all the time, it didn't click to me even at that time that meant that was the location that is where I'm from, where my people and my ancestors are from. It doesn't click because we've been so indoctrinated by society through our schools, through our education and our history to think that we didn't exist. And so we grow up still trying to find our place and where we belong in this world. Okay, so if you look in the declarations, and I'll get to that, how you can declare your nationality and why you would want to in a little bit. So our dominion and inhabitation extended from north, east, and southwest Africa across the great Atlantis, even unto the present North America, South America, and Central America, and also Mexico and the Atlantis Islands, or Americana, before the great earthquake which caused the Atlantic Ocean. So if you think of the Aboriginal people, you want to think of people with copper-colored skin, and their descendants, people with copper-colored skin like mine, darker hues, a little lighter hues, some Native Americans, some Mexicans, Hispanic, however you want to determine or call them, or yourself, Indians, you know, and mostly I believe that the natives that we consider Native Americans here are mixed with white and more of the German race or the race from Europe, Europeans, you know, and so their true history of some of them is not accurate. It's not accurate as to how we've been taught. And actually, as I want to go back a little bit and say that if you compare, you know, studying Moorish history to studying different religions, you'll find that there are many different religions and that they all say that they have the truth. And this is what confused me when I was studying religion, right? So when I was studying religion and it said that we all have the truth, I found similar situations happening when I was studying different Moorish people. You know, and in religion, they said, well, don't read outside of your religion. Don't read books from other religions. You know, don't, you know, read different types of Bibles. You know, just stick to the King James, and don't hang around with people who don't believe the same way as you do. And this is a perfect recipe for dogmatism. You know, and I was always courageous enough to look outside of the box. And I call that the box of our conditioning. So I was always brave enough and curious to look outside of the box of our conditioning. And that's why I was able to come to understand the things that I do. So when I came to the Moorish movement, and I felt a little frustrated because I was looking and seeking truth, but I would say this is my third year, my third year in it. And so what I'm finding is that when you come into this Moorish American studies and you just start studying, you're going to start from the first thing that you heard and try and go forward. But what you should do, and what I'm starting to do, is go backwards and try to understand the basic foundations of what the message is that Prophet True Ali was teaching to us, what civics are, what jurisdiction is, you know, who and what the Bible says we are, who and what the law says that we are, and who and what our ancestors say that we are. So go backwards. If you come into it, you know, on maybe step 5, you know, go back to step 1. Don't try and skip from 5 to 10 thinking that you're going to be more knowledgeable, because without a foundation, you're not going to have a clear understanding of anything. So you're going to feel like you're scattered in your thinking and in your brain, and that the pieces are not forming a cohesive whole. So also, I just want to encourage you, if you hear one Moorish sect, and I can use that word because that's how I'm finding them to be, belittling other Moorish sects. Allow them to be. I mean, for myself personally, I felt turned off by it. I can listen to what you have to say, and that doesn't have to come with, for me, a bashing or insulting of what the other people, Moors over here, are doing, you know, or what they're saying, because there are more than one way. There is more than one way to get to a destination, right? So if there was only one way, you know, to get from here to Italy, or from Washington to Connecticut, that one road would make people have a much harder and longer travel time. So there are many different ways to even get from my house to Walmart. I can think of 3, maybe 4 right off the back. You know, so when one Moorish American or even one religion is teaching how to get to heaven, you know, or Moorish is teaching you how to get to an understanding of who you are and who we are as a people, please embrace it all. Because one thing I've learned that as a life coach and as a counselor and etc. in the years that I've been counseling is that people are going to believe what they believe, whether you approve of it or not. Whether you agree with it or not, allow those things to be, because when people learn, we learn in increments and we learn slowly over time. We take information and it builds a little upon little, you know, line upon line, precept upon precept. And also there's a scripture I remember in the New Testament where they're talking about, well, some of the disciples go back to, quote unquote, Jesus, who I say Yahushua, and they asked him, they said, hey, Master, well, there's some people over there, you know, that are teaching, you know, the gospel. But basically they were saying, we don't know who they are. You know, should we stop them? And Yahshua, he said to them, no. He said, let them be. And so this is the same thing that I want to encourage us as Moors to do. It was very difficult and very confusing. And I've heard people, even on the Moorish American Consulate website, who were newbies studying, saying, you people are crazy, I'm out of here. And I try to encourage her, you know, the woman who I'm referring to just really focus on what is the truth and what is peaceful. You know, and for myself, I chose to stay away from those people who were, you know, bashing other Moorish sects, because what's more, and even as important as our message, is our character. Who is going to want to listen to you? And who, if you do not have an honorable character? Okay, and so some of the reasons even why in the Bible, in the stories, whether they're as accurate as they should be or not, the reasons why they say that the Moabites were and the Babylonian kingdom was destroyed is because we were worshiping other gods and we weren't being obedient, you know. So I remember even a scripture that says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and turn from their wicked ways, so will I heal their lands. Okay, so we can grasp and garner some really good information there on how we should be. And so for me, it's not just about information. It's about character building. It's about being an example, you know, in honoring our ancestors, you know, in the way that we should. Okay, hold on for a minute. My computer just died. Let me get my cord. Don't be discouraged. Does anybody have any questions? Don't be discouraged when you're studying. Who I found, and I'm sure there's more people out there who are really teaching solid truth and who have good characters, are people you want to follow. Because I remember years ago, I was friends with some people who were I don't know necessarily Moors only, but of religious, more, I want to say, is from the religion of Islam. And they were this one person in particular was really, had a hard character. And so it was hard for me to receive what he was trying to teach me, because there was even some abusiveness in his character, you know, verbal abuse, and which turned into even physical abuse that I've was a party to myself, so I can speak on it. So as long as we allow ourselves to be referred to with derogatory terms, we will remain airless, because we are the true Aboriginal people of the land. And so my message primarily is for people who are trying to understand or want to know, who are receiving a passion or a desire in their heart to understand the basics, okay? And so I want to share these things from a simplistic aspect so that you can understand and so that you can share with people in your family. Maybe you already know, and you want a simplistic understanding from a person who's come from a religious aspect or background, and you want to be able to share with them, okay, these things. So let's see. We are, where was I? Let's see. Our dominion. Okay. Our dominion and inhabitation extended from north, east, southwest Africa, across the great Atlantis, even unto the present North Africa, South America, Central America, and also Mexico, and Atlantis Islands, Americas before the great earthquake, which caused the great Atlantic Ocean. The El Moroccan Empire, or the American continents, are our lands, the lands of the Moors, being North America, South America, Central America, including the adjoining islands, America, El Meru, El Morocco. So that's where the word America comes from, is El Morocco, from what I have come to understand. See also, let's see, the Moabites, who are Moors, historical proof of our lineage, by Be the Power on YouTube. And that is a really great video. I would actually stop and play it for you, but I don't want this to be too long. If you don't do anything else today, when you get off of this video, go on YouTube and watch the Moabites, who are the Moors, historical proof of our lineage, by Be the Power on YouTube. So we are damned as long as we allow ourselves to be referred to with derogatory terms and airless titles, because along with our nationality comes benefits or hereditaments, meaning that we are owed everything. Everything belongs to us, okay? We are, when we allow ourselves to be referred to with these derogatory and airless titles, we will continue to be damned on our own homelands. Our birthright and heritage has both been hidden and stolen from us. Everything is ours. This land is our land, like the song says, and all its ancient structures and current structures, these things were built on the blood and the backs of our people, using our resources. And now, since we are awake, we are taking lawful, unified, and decisive steps to reclaim our dominion and all assets derived therefrom. I and all Moors are descendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet and the Moabites and the Canaanites. And of course, you can go to the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, which I'm not going to read, but to say that the Treaty of Peace and Friendship is the longest treaty, and there are many, between the United States and other nations, okay? And you can download the Treaty of Peace and Friendship between Morocco and the United States online, but make sure you get the copy that's sealed with the Library of Congress. I actually have see that in my computer. So let me open it real quick so you can see what that looks like. For a minute, I mean, some of these things you can and probably have already read. And a lot of times I find what people do is that they say, oh, I've heard about the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, but they never actually read the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, you know, or they do their nationality and they're so anxious to get it done that they don't read everything in, you know, all the codes and everything that are in there, you know, for our learning and for finality, and they're so anxious to get it done that they don't read everything in, all the codes and everything that are in there, for our learning and for, again, the people who we are sending these things to. Okay, Treaty of Peace and Friendship, okay. And this is with the certified cover from the Library of Congress. I wasn't planning on showing this or using this today, but I have it in PDF, and if you want a copy, if you can't find it online, then just inbox me and I'll send you a copy of it. Okay, so this is a copy of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, and it has been uploaded to the Library of Congress and it's still there today. Okay, so this is a copy of that document and a certified copy. Okay. And this is here, there was a first affixed here on this copy was 2007 certified, and 1990 is the date of the stamp. So let's give that a second to upload. So you're going to go online and you're going to look for that copy, the Library of Congress, the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, which is also in a PDF form that you can download. The United States of America. Okay, so this is Public Statutes at Large. Okay, this is United States of America, Organization of the Government, 1789 to March 1845. The Declaration of Independence, the Articles of Confederation, and also full general index to the whole work in the concluded volume. So let me try and get this to scroll down here. And it's really not that long, just getting past these pages might be a little arduous, but. So this is what it might look like. So it says a treaty of peace and friendship between the United States of America and His Imperial Majesty, the Emperor of Morocco, to all persons to whom these presents shall come or be made known, whereas the United States of America in Congress assembled by their commission, bearing date the 12th day of May, 1784, thought proper to constitute John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, and Thomas Jefferson, their ministers plenipotentiary, given to them, or a majority of them, full powers to confer, treat, and negotiate with the ambassador, minister, or commissioner of His Majesty the Emperor of Morocco concerning a treaty of amity and commerce, to make and receive propositions for such treaty, and to conclude and sign the same, transmuting it to the United States Congress assembled for their final ratifications by one, bearing the commission on the 11th day of March 1785. Okay, so this is what that looks like, and it goes on to say who down here. And whereas, right here, see, and whereas we, the said John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, two of the said ministers plenipotentiary, the said Benjamin Franklin, being absent by writing under the hand and seal of the said John Adams at London, October the 5th, 1785, appoint Thomas Barclay, agent in the business aforesaid, giving him the powers therein, by which the said second commission we were authorized to give, and the said Thomas Barclay, yada yada, hath arranged articles for the treaty and of amity and commerce between the United States of America and this Majesty of the Emperor of Morocco. Okay, and so I just in the beginning I was thinking that we got permission, or this treaty, from the United States, but it was actually the other way around. We gave the United States permission to occupy here and to start their United States corporation here, which only occupies a small area. So now we come to believe that the United States corporation is the country, but it's a corporation, and we'll go on to see that in a little bit. So here are some of the articles contained in the Treaty of Peace and Friendship between the United States and Morocco. And I like, for instance, right here it says, if any more shall bring citizens of the United States or the effects to His Majesty, the citizens shall immediately be set at liberty, and the effects restored. And in like manner, if any more, not a subject of these dominions, shall make a prize of any of the citizens of America of their effects, and bring them into any of the parts of this Majesty, they shall be immediately released, and they will then be considered as under His Majesty's protection. Okay, so it goes on to say, if any vessel of the United States shall meet with disaster at sea, etc., in one of our ports to repair, he shall have the liberty to land and reload the cargo. There's a lot of different articles here, so there's one that I just wanted to bring out really quick. And it says that if there be anyone that is hurt, what the consequences shall be. I don't remember which one it was. Okay, so maybe let's look right here. It says, if any of the citizens, in Article 10, of the United States, or any persons under their protection, still have any disputes with each other, the council shall decide between the parties, and whenever the council shall require any aid or assistance from the government to enforce its decision, it shall be immediately granted. Okay, so it's the next one, Article 21. Okay, now take note, because this article and this treaty is still in force. It's the longest standing treaty that any nation has with the United States of America. If a citizen of the United States should kill or wound a Moor, on the contrary, if a Moor shall kill or wound a citizen of the United States, the law of the country shall take place, and equal justice shall be rendered, the council assisting at the trial. And if any delinquent shall make his escape, the council shall not be answerable for him in any manner. If any American citizen shall die in our country, and no one shall appear, the council shall take possession of his effects, etc., etc. So basically you're saying if a citizen of the United States should be killed or wound a Moor, or if a Moor shall kill or wound a citizen of the United States, the law of the country shall take place. Okay, so we are able to take this Article 21 and stand on it to get justice, you know, for the people who are Moors and who are being killed, our people who are Moors and who are being killed. Okay, now this one is where I'll stop right there, because if we all just came together and understood as a people that we have rights still before they are all destroyed, you know, in the Constitution, that we have rights still, and we come together and we enforce these articles, the article of peace and friendship. Okay, and if anyone's hurt or anyone is killed, if any of our people die in our country, and it was by the hand of any United States citizen, that he shall meet with the same. Okay, and that's Article 20. Let me go back up to right here. It says, equal justice shall be rendered. So what does that mean? That's like the Bible says, an eye for an eye, right? So I'm going to stop there, just go down a little bit, and you see what that looks like. And it's not, like I said, it's not very long. It's actually, it says 10 pages here, if you can see that there's 10 pages. And that's where we get our rights from today. So if you were late on this call, let's see, I am on page 4. I probably won't get to everything here, but if you're late to this call and you don't understand who you are, you go back to an older dictionary, because a lot of our dictionaries have been changed, and look at the definition of an American. It says a native of America originally applied to the Aboriginals or copper-colored races found here by the Europeans. And so this admits that we were here already and that we were found here by the Europeans and that we were copper-colored and that we are aboriginal. If you're late to this call, I went over this already. Okay, and that the word aboriginal means, again, in Webster's 1940? Yeah, I don't know. I think it's 1940. Unabridged dictionary. And original inhabitants, the first settlers in a country, are called aboriginals, as the Celts in Europe or the Indians of America. And so, like I said, it says the Indians in America, but what it should also say are the Moors. Because if you continue down here, and you look up the definition, I had the definition of blackamoor too in my computer. I meant to put that here as well. Let me see if I can get that up. Documents. Hold on a minute. So it actually says, when you look up the word black, it says the definition of a color without light, and then it says blackamoor. So I have the dictionary at home, and I took pictures this morning from the dictionary to try and show you. And while that's loading, I'll show you some more beautiful pictures of our ancestors here. You know, Moorish American, ancient Moors. Why am I clicking on that? That's going to take longer to load too. But anyways, you can see some of the beautiful ancient Moors here. See the features. All of these beautiful structures that were destroyed so that we wouldn't know our true history, right? You see what I'm saying here? I'll go back to that in a minute. Let me go back to black. And if you look at some of the features that they have here, they're really beautiful. Come on, let's go to the next one. Somebody shared these on Facebook a couple of months ago. I can't remember. Look at the nose, the lips. These are all ancient. I want to say African, which wouldn't be wrong, but Moors. You know, all of the history that was stolen from us, that was hidden, is being brought back to the surface now. Ancient lands, ancient structures. So here, I guess somewhere down right in the middle, okay, blackamoor. Okay, so if you look up the definition of black, to make black, to blacken to soil. And it goes down where my cursor is right here. Don't do that. Okay, black moor, black and moor, a Negro, a black man. Okay, so if we just go by these definitions alone, black moor, a black is a Moor. It's a noun. A noun is a person, place, or thing. A Negro, a black man, right? I mean, do I even have to go any further? We are Aboriginal and we are indigenous to the land. Okay, so I'm going to take all of this information and put it on my blog, on my website, and make it a part of this. Well, it's in the video because I'm recording on my phone, yay. Okay, so you'll be able to see that there. Before I have any more, I'm going to go down. Okay, so why does all this stuff matter? Okay, so that's the question that I want you to ask yourself. Why does all this matter? And why are we erroneously referred to as Negro, black, and colors? It's because this land belongs to us. It's the reason why they're killing our people. It's because Moors are starting to declare their nationality. They're starting to wake up, and they're doing paperwork that takes you out of the system, because when you are born, your birth certificate places you under the system. If you look at one of my last videos, I talk about how, let me see. I think it's called Well, anyway, look at one of my last videos. I have so many, but it talks about, you know, the straw man, of course, and, you know, how our birth certificates and our social security numbers, our birth certificate are actually bonds, security bonds that are sold on the stock market. So you and I are collateral, and not just Moors, but all people are who have a birth certificate, who have not declared their nationality, are on the stock market, and they are being sold and traded. And there's actually a website that you can go to, put in your social security and different variations, and you'll find that there. You know, that I'm telling you the truth. So what am I looking for? Oh, so that is one of the reasons why it matters. I'm trying to get an extension cord before my phone dies. So what I decided to do when I started praying and asking, how do I come out of Babylon? How do I do that? And these are some of the first things that I saw was, who are the Moors? Why is this important? Okay. Moors are copper-colored people, improperly referred to as Negro, Black, African Americans, heirs and descendants of ancient Egyptian Moabites. Moors are Egyptians from the land of Moab who settled and inhabited northwest Africa. They were founders and are true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire. This includes Algiers, Tunis, Tripoli, Mauritania, and the Americas, with their Canaanite, Hittite, and Amorite brothers who sojourned from the land of Canaan, seeking new homes. And again, like I said, in our declaration, it shows you all of those things. I showed you the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, and I want to show you pretty quickly. And I'm going to go back and show you what it says in the declaration. But first, I want to show you House Resolution. Okay, the committee, let's see, right here. Besides the Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1786 and the Constitution. Okay, first session. From the first section, House Resolution 26. And I copied and pasted it here so I wouldn't have to go back and look it up. Okay. I'm giving to you today absolute proof. Absolute proof that who we are as the Moors and why it is important is because everything that was ours, this land, is everything on it, and everything that has been used to build Americas and the countries today was done from everything that was created and intended for us. And we are in the process together of taking it back. The Moorish American Council that has already filed the eminent domain lien on the whole world and all the corporations. And the reason why they did this is because they were acting and taking back what the Pope did. The Pope had even the souls of men and an eminent domain lien on the whole world, where he claims even the souls of men. And I did a video on that too. Look on YouTube, my new channel, the Personal Freedom Center, and you'll see all the videos that I can't remember the name of because I'm trying too hard. But yeah, so I have quite a few YouTube channels and they link to each other, but this one is newer. So now it says the Committee on the Judiciary Concurrent Resolution is an open admission of guilt. You see that? For the breach of trust and vile acts premeditated against Moors, against the Moors, whom you fraudulently labeled blacks, colored Negroes, Indians, Mexicans, and African Americans, in blatant effort to denationalize Moors and disconnect us from our vast estate, our wealthy birthright. I copied and pasted that. I didn't write that. I don't have the patience. I'm a writer, but I don't have the patience in a video to sit there and put all those quotation marks and everything. So now here it is. Here's that resolution 26, and you can look it up. And it reads, concurrent resolution, whereas during, let me get the camera still so you can see. Whereas during the history of the nation of the United States, Whereas during the history of the nation, the United States has grown into a symbol of democracy and freedom around the world. Whereas the legacy of African Americans is interwoven with the very fabric of the democracy and freedom of the United States. Whereas millions of Africans and their descendants were enslaved in the United States and the 13 American colonies from 1619 through 1865. Whereas Africans forced into slavery were brutalized, humiliated, dehumanized, and subjected to the indignity of being stripped from their names and heritage. Whereas many enslaved families were torn apart after family members were sold separately. Whereas many enslaved families were torn apart after family members were sold separately. Whereas the system of slavery and the visceral racism against people of African descent upon which it depended became enmeshed in the social fabric of the United States. The system, again, let me read that again. Okay, so it says, whereas the system of slavery and the visceral racism against the people of the African descent upon which it depended became enmeshed in the social fabric of the United States. Otherwise, this slavery has become enmeshed. And when something becomes enmeshed, it becomes infused, and so it becomes one. And so it became enmeshed in the fabric of the United States. Now, if I just talk to you about fabric for a minute, I sew. And I'm always amazed how a single thread can keep a garment together. So you've got the thread that comes to the needle from the top, and you got thread that comes from the bottom. And then you got jeans that last for years. You got simple threads that make up these fabrics that last for years. So when you talk about it becomes enmeshed in the social fabric of the United States, this is why it is so difficult. And why they're having conversations about whether or not, what is that term that they're using for white people are saying, do I have some type of racism that I don't know about? I can't remember, but you guys know what I'm talking about in the news. So they're like, am I racist? I don't know, you know? So, whereas, and go on, whereas Africans forced into slavery were brutalized. Okay, so I read that already. Okay, I'll go down to about right here, a point right here. Whereas slavery was not officially abolished until the ratification of the 13th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. Okay, so it says, let me see that closer so you can see it. Whereas slavery was not officially abolished until the ratification of the 13th Amendment of the Constitution of the United States after the end of the Civil War. Whereas after emancipation from 246 years of slavery, African Americans soon saw the fleeting political, social, economic gains they made during Reconstruction as eviscerated by the virulent racism, lynching, disenfranchisement, black codes, racial segregation laws that imposed a rigid system of officially sanctioned racial segregation in virtually all areas of life. So in these words is where I'm urging you to try and see things from a new perspective, that this country has never been on our side. Whereas the system of de jure racial segregation, known as Jim Crow, which arose in certain parts of the United States after Civil War to create separate and unequal societies for whites and African Americans. You see that right here? And it was a direct result of the racism against the people of African descent that was then engendered by slavery. It gets better, don't go yet. Whereas the system of Jim Crow laws officially existed until 1960s, a century after the official end of slavery in the United States, until Congress took action to end it. But the vestiges of Jim Crow continue to this day. Whereas Americans, African Americans, continue to suffer from the consequences of slavery and Jim Crow laws long after both systems were formally abolished through enormous damage and loss, both tangible and intangible, including the loss of human dignity and liberty. Whereas the story of the enslavement and de jure segregation of African Americans and the dehumanizing atrocities committed against them should not be purged from or minimized in the telling of the history of the United States. You know, you almost want to say, I can't believe that they're putting this out here in a House Joint Resolution. Whereas those African Americans who suffered under slavery and Jim Crow laws, and I'm right here, okay, their descendants exemplify the strength of human character and provide a model of courage, commitment, and perseverance. Whereas on July 8, 2003, during a trip to Gore Island, Senegal, a former slave port, President George W. Bush acknowledged the continuing legacy of slavery in the life in the United States and the need to confront that legacy when he stated that slavery was one of the greatest crimes of history. The racial bigotry fed by slavery did not end with slavery or with segregation. And many of the issues that still trouble America have roots in their bitter experience of other times. But however long the journey, our destiny is set, liberty and justice for all, right? Wherefore, President Bill Clinton also acknowledged the deep-seated problems caused by the continuing legacy of racism against African Americans that begun with slavery when he initiated a national dialogue about race. Whereas an apology for centuries of brutal dehumanization of injustices cannot erase the past, but confessions of the wrongs committed and formal apology to African Americans will help bind the wounds of the nations that are rooted in slavery and can speed racial healing and reconciliation and help the people of the United States understand the past and honor the history of all people of the United States. Where is this apology? And is that enough? An apology is due to us, they're saying here. Continuing. Whereas the legislatures of the Commonwealth of Virginia and the state of Alabama, Florida, Maryland, North Carolina have taken the lead in adopting resolutions officially expressing appropriate remorse. For slavery, okay? So I remember reading that North Carolina was going to give reparations to blacks or African Americans. And so when I clicked on the link, it said that they're not actually going to give them reparations, but they're going to provide programs for them, which they have to apply for, which is another force. It's like the left hand giving and the right hand taketh away. Because we know that any time that we go and apply for any type of help, we have to go to the system. We have to go to the white man. Okay. And I hate to say it like that, but this is what it is. Most of my best friends in life have been Albions or Caucasians. All right. But so I'm not full of hatred and I'm not envious. I just want you to know, and I want you to see these things for yourself. So it goes on to say, in North Carolina and Maryland, they have taken the lead in adopting resolutions officially expressing appropriate remorse for slavery. And other state legislators are continuing similar resolutions. And now, before I go on to this next part, it says that they're going to give us some type of reparations. But I'm saying I don't want you to give me reparations because you are not going to give me and you're not going to give me and my people anything near what we deserve. You're not going to be fair. And it's proven in the fact that North Carolina study, just go, there's a couple of articles online. North Carolina makes reparations to African Americans. And you'll see if you click on it and read the actual reparations, it says that they turn it into programs that you have to apply for. Because in the United States, the way that they do money, and the reason why we don't have any money, is because everything's based on credit. And when I said that our birth certificate is a bond, everything that we get from the government is taken right out of our Sedeca Trust. Okay, and we'll get into that in a minute. So we sign. Everything that we sign creates money for the system, for the corporation. And I have a video also called The Two United States I did last month, or you need to watch that so you understand what the two United States are. The United States, in all capital letters, is the United States Corporation, which gives us our birth certificate, our Social Security number, which we pay taxes to. But then there's the United States of America. Okay, now, again, the United States Corporation is based on statutes and codes, okay, not based on the Constitution. So the second United States would be the United States of America, which is under the Constitution, which is where people who declare their nationality and their sovereignty fall under. No more a United States corporate citizens in all capital letters. Stop what you're doing. Look around you. Pick up a piece of mail. Look at all your bills that come in the mail where your name is in all capital letters. That's your straw man. That's the fake you. That's the one that they're using to go into our estate. Each and every one of us are worth millions and millions, billions, maybe to trillions collectively, depending on what state you live in, and they're taking that money. So if you buy a house, for instance, you're going to pay the bank back. But when you sign, you're creating, if you buy a house for $300,000, you're giving the bank permission to go into that Sedeca V or your birth certificate trust money that was allotted to all people after 1930 when the United States filed bankruptcy, right, and took all the gold from the people. They didn't have a way to pay their bills. And I know this sounds crazy, but if you look it up and you start reading for yourself, your mouth is just going to drop. And of course, that's in my video, you know, and it talks about, you know, a lot of this stuff is online. I can't even make it up. So if you go on now, and let me read this highlighted part in blue, okay? So, whereas it is important for the people of the United States who legally recognize slavery through the Constitution and the laws of the United States to make a formal apology. Again, it says, whereas it is important for the people of the United States who legally recognize slavery through the Constitution and the laws of the United States to make a formal apology, okay? It is important for the people of the United States to make a formal apology for slavery and for its successor, Jim Crow, so they can move forward and seek reconciliation, justice, and harmony for all people of the United States. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate House of the Representatives concurring. That sense of Congress is the following, okay? So an apology for the enslavement and segregation of Americans, right? And they took, oh, there it is, African Americans. Okay, number one, the Congress, A, acknowledges the fundamental injustice, cruelty, brutality, and inhumanity of slavery and Jim Crow laws. B, apologizes to African Americans on behalf of the people of the United States for the wrongs committed against them and their ancestors who suffered under slavery and Jim Crow laws. And C, express its recommitment to the principle that all people are created equal and endowed with inalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and calls on all people of the United States to work toward eliminating racial prejudices, injustices, and discrimination for our society. Okay, now in the red, you'll see my words here. To add insult to injury, it closes with this disclaimer, okay? This is the closing. Disclaimer, number two, okay? Nothing in this resolution authorizes or supports any claim against the United States or serves as a settlement of any claim against the United States. Passed by the Senate. It's not funny, but I can't help but laugh. What else can I do? That's the end of the quote. So they're making this resolution, and it's long, and it's heartfelt, and it's compassionate. It shows awareness and says that we're doing apology. But then it goes on to have a disclaimer so that we can't sue, right? Or use this against them in any way, that nothing in this resolution authorizes or supports any claim against the United States. And this is why we have to stand up for ourselves. This is the truth, the truths, plural, that will set you free, that will set us free. Nobody in this world, since I've been born or in this country, has ever gotten freedom given to them. We had to fight for it. Martin Luther King laid down his life for it. Rosa Parks sat down and refused to get up for it. We have to fight for it. They're not going to give us anything outright. Another truth that will set you free. The Pope's Civil Order of 2014. Can I continue? Just a little bit. If you don't finish watching it, come back in a little while now. This, I think I heard Brother Cool when he was doing videos, mention it in a video. And so I went and I looked it up. Okay, now this is Civil Orders, and this is a letter from the Pope. In 2014, I need a sip of water. Look at that document for a minute. Look at the heading. Okay, now it says Unified Maine Common Law Grand Jury. This is where it comes from. Brunswick, Maine. Okay, Lex Naturals de Grata. This is actually a letter that was put on the letterhead from his lawyer, the Pope's lawyer, okay? Civil Orders, okay? Now, I'm going to scroll down and show you that it's from the Pope and then go back up to read it. So I got this online now on a website, which I have to go look up or put it in my notes here for you, okay? So if anybody knows how to keep these ads from popping up, please let me know. I tried a couple of times, but I don't know if it's possible. Okay, so this notice is by my hand and upon my civil authority set forth this day, Anna Maria Rez Ginger, okay, private attorney, services to His Holiness Pope Francis. Okay, and then there's her actual thumbprint, which is how sovereigns sign, but we sign all in red, so they've been basically copying everything that we do or the way we're supposed to be doing things. Okay, so this is an official letter from the Pope, and after this we're gonna close up. So now it says issued to all members of the domestic police force, U.S. Marshals, U.S. Marshal Services, the Provost Marshals, members of the American Bar Association, and the American Armed Services. These organic American states of the Union, known as the United States of America Major, exercising plenary civil powers upon the land, hereby appointed General Carter F. Ham to lead and command the Grand Army of the Republic and its successors under the guidance of the Joint Chiefs of Staff with their full support. Should it become necessary to suppress commercial mercenary forces operating under the guise of being federal government agencies, including but not limited to the Department of Homeland Security, the Federal Emergency Management Administration, or FEMA, the IRS or the Internal Revenue Services, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. Again, so let's look at the start of this paragraph. Again, I want to know if you picked it up. If you picked that up, just give a little thumbs up. It says, should it become necessary to suppress the commercial mercenary forces operating under the guise of being federal government agencies, including but not limited to. So they're operating under the guise of being federal government agencies, but they're not. And it goes on to name some of them, including but not limited to the Department of Homeland Security, the Federal Emergency Management and Administration, the IRS or Internal Revenue Service, the Bureau of Alcohol and Tobacco and Firearms, etc. Can you see? Okay. General Ham shall assume immediate command and control of all armed forces and services owed to the United States of America majors stationed in North America, and shall join them under his command as the Grand Army of the Republic. All forces of air, land, and sea are to be employed. Any cost or loss suffered as a result of deployment of the Grand Army of the Republic shall charge as stipulated prior. Whoever knows what that Grand Army of the Republic is. I would say it would be the One World Army that was mentioned en route to global occupation, or Gary Cobb's book. What's the name of that book? Oh, I don't know, but I'll look it up. Let's see. Any cost suffered as a result of deployment of that Grand Army of the Republic shall be charged and stipulated. All efforts shall be made by the Grand Army of the Republic to spare life and property while undertaking any action whatsoever within the states of the Union, without exception. The GAR, the Grand Army of the Republic, is uniquely enabled by these orders to operate on the land of the 50 organic states for the purposes of securing the lives and property of the American states and the American citizens. The GAR is not a foreign army and is composed of primarily of American state citizens. Okay. American state citizens are not the same thing as American citizens. American state citizens, and I'm not reading this, I'm telling you this, that American state citizens are people who are not Moors, but could be, but people who chose to get out of the United States corporation and become state citizens and no longer citizens or under the authority of the United States corporation. They pledge allegiance to their state, and that's why I didn't do it, because I don't want to pledge allegiance to anybody but my God, Allah, Yahuwah, the Grand Almighty, the Creator of the heavens and universe, is the only person who I'm going to pledge my allegiance to, besides my consort and my children. I don't even have to pledge; that's a given. So I didn't do that. So American state citizens do. If required to take field position, continuing, the local commanders shall make every effort to communicate to the basis of their authority and the reasons for their presence on America's state soil to ensure a prompt cessation of hostilities and widespread understanding of the usurpations and acts of fraud which have led to any conflict. All parties must be brought to understand the nature of the federal government, the limitations of its authority. All parties, again, must be brought to understand the nature of the federal government, the limitations of its authority, and their own obligation to act in favor of the organic states of the Union. He's talking about sovereign citizens here, okay? So it gets interesting more, and then we'll close here a bit. So it says, the Grand Army of the Republic shall continue to operate under General Order 100, known as the Lieber Code, extant from the pen, E-X-T-A-N-T, I think it says, from the pen of the last Republic President, Abraham Lincoln. Okay. Now, for some reason, this page looks a lot clearer than the last page here. Okay. No orders executive or otherwise, issued by Barack H. Obama, pretending authority on the land of the American states while operating as President of the United States Corporation, nor as the President of the United States America minor, are owed any performance by the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Ham, or any ordinary. All plainly stated grants of contractual authority evident in the Constitution for the United States of America remain in place, subject to good faith performance of accompanying obligations and treaties. Okay, so now he's saying here that no executive orders issued by Barack Obama, who was the president at that time. It says that he's pretending authority on the land of American states. And that's because the United States is a corporation. And he is the CEO. Any president of the United States is the CEO of the United States of America, and not the president of the United States of America, which is the real United States, okay, which they have minor and they have listed major here. So Mr. Obama is the president, and it continues right here, and it goes on to say, Mr. Obama is the president of a governmental service corporation under contract to provide stipulated services to the organic states and is on their payroll. He otherwise acts as a foreign dignitary representing the United States of America minor. In neither of these capacities is he allowed to grant authority to impose upon American state citizens, endanger American state property, or command mercenary forces on American state soil, however veiled as federal civilian service agencies. We require the Joint Chief of Staff and General Ham to commence measures to disarm federal civilian agencies personnel. Again, we require Joint Chief of Staff and General Ham to commence measures to disarm federal civilian agency personnel and to seize control of the vast stockpiles of arms from which they have been improperly amassed by the Department of Homeland Security, FEMA, and other agencies employed by the United States. Okay, the only federal agency allowed free egress on the land of the American states is the U.S. Marshals Service, and then only when their personnel are engaged in their duty to protect U.S. mail and sworn to act as constitutional officers. And this is why when the Moors do their court, that they, in our paperwork, we send to the U.S. Provost Marshals for them to serve whoever the liens or paperwork are going to, okay? So it says that they are personally engaged in their duty, unless they are engaged in their duty to protect the U.S. mail and sworn to act as constitutional officers. Okay, the United States Corporation is not under the Constitution. They created codes and statutes that allow us to be under subjection or force us to be under subjection to them. But once we wake up and we declare our nationality or become a state citizen, now then we are no longer under the system of the United States Corporation. And the Bible says in Revelation that in 1 hour her judgment is going to come. It tells us to come out of Babylon, that great city. And it gives you such a vivid description of her that you know from watching my other video without question, you'll know that's who it's talking to. Okay, so we direct Joint Chief Staff to communicate these first two general civil orders directly to Mr. Obama, the members of the U.S. Congress, the administrators of all federal agencies, the members of the Supreme Court, and those acting as governors to compel their rapid understanding and cooperation. Any expense or damage incurred by these organic states or any American state citizen as a result of actions undertaken by any federal agency personnel acting as armed mercenaries on American state soil will be understood as the result of violent crimes committed against the peaceful inhabitants of the land and will incur immediate judgment, liquidating the assets of the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the Federal Reserve, in all capital letters, as a corporate entity, in payment of the stipulated reparations. Such crimes shall also be considered contract default, increasing the public debt subject to bounty. Okay. So let me go down. And and we're almost done. This is the last page. Okay, but again, like I said, here's where it gets really good. Okay. Any and all corporate officers of the United States or any successor organizations inheriting federal service contracts who support, condone, or promote such crimes against the American states or against American state citizens shall be subject to arrest and prosecution for commercial and violent crimes. All foreign officials operating as elected or appointed officials of the United States of America minor who support, condone, or promote such crimes against the American states or against American state citizens shall be subject to arrest. So here clearly you can see that they're saying that the state citizens are from the United States of America major, and the citizens or on the United States of America minor who support, condone, and promote such crimes against the American states, that's the American minor, or the United States corporation, who support and condone or promote such crimes against the American states or against American state citizens shall be subject to arrest, confiscation of their assets, and deportation to Puerto Rico, Guam, and other states as may be willing to receive them. And this is what's happening now, right? Such foreign officials include members of the American and British Bar Association who were licensed to act as privateers against the interest of American states and the American state citizens from 1845 to 2014 in flagrant breach of trust. All such licenses are now extinguished. Members of the Bar Association are required to cease and desist assaults against the American states and American state citizens and shall be subject to arrest, confiscation, and deportation otherwise. Okay. And here's where, again, we get our power. As American nationals, see, we're not a color. We're a nationality, and you cannot survive anymore in the United States corporation without declaring your nationality, or you're going to be subjected to all their foolishness. Okay, all of the lies, enforcement of taking vaccinations, enforcement of sending your children to school, enforcement of wearing masks or any other thing that they deem as necessary. As a United States citizen, you are under their authority. Okay, now somebody asked a question once on a video I was watching. They were a church organization, and they said, does my church have to be obedient to the laws of the country, saying that we cannot hold service? Yes, because you have a license from them. And this is why Moors terminate all corporate contracts. Anything that gives you a license, that you get a license from the United States corporation, has control over you. Now, to continue in the last page, it says, insomuch as corporate officers operating the United States of America, Incorporated, and the United States, you see how they have it, United States of America in lowercase? Well, at the beginning of the United States are capitalized. And then in all capital letters, it refers to the United States Corporation, have contrived, and in so much as corporate officers operating in the United States of America, make sure you can see this good, have contrived under conditions of fraud and semantic deceit, revenue of estates. They revenued our estates. Revenued of estates. That's the only thing that they could possibly be talking about, okay? America Minor are found guilty of capital crimes, including acts of fraud, treason, committed between 1933 and 1945. Let me make sure you can see this. And I'm in the first paragraph on the second line. Okay, between 1933, they're found guilty of capital crimes. America Minor, okay, the United States Corporation is found guilty of capital crimes, including the acts of fraud and treason committed between 1933 and 1945, and are condemned posthumously. That means beyond time of humans. Insomuch as elected officials operating the United States of America Minor have similarly committed war crimes against American states and their peaceful inhabitants during the same time period, they stand condemned posthumously. No enforcement upon any American state or American state citizen is owed as a result of any act of Congress operating as the sovereign government of the United States of America Minor, nor as the board of directors or board of trustees of any incorporated entity whatsoever. All those estates and estates, and all capital letters, the estates with the small letters or states, belong to the Aboriginal indigenous people who were here when Christopher Columbus so-called, I can't even say it, discovered America. Thank you, brain. Thank you. No enforcement upon any American state or American state citizen is owed as a result of any act of Congress operating as the sovereign government of the United States America Minor, nor as the board of directors or board of trustees of any incorporated entity whatsoever. All those estates and estates erroneously believed to represent the American states and American state citizens, and which were conveyed by fraud, and which were conveyed to the United States Corporation by fraud and legal deceit to the United States American Minor, and more recently to the city-state and the United Nations, are revenued without exceptions to the geographical defined American states and the American state citizens, where they shall remain in perpetuity, named after the American states and state citizens. I'm getting excited, I'm sorry. Okay. Without exception, okay, geographically defined American states and the American state citizens, where they shall remain in perpetuity, as assets belonging to the rightful, lawful beneficiaries. All legal fiction entities, however structured and named after the American states and American state citizens, are returned to them and their control, free and clear of any debt, promise, encumbrance, or obligation alleged against them as a result of false claims made in their behalf by officers of the United States of America, Inc., Incorporated, and the United States in Inc., in all capital letters, or by any foreign officials operating on the United States of America Minor or the United Nations city-state, falsely claiming to represent them or have jurisdiction over them. So basically he's saying that they do not have jurisdiction over who? The true beneficiaries, which are United States citizens, okay? And that's okay and accurate to say because anybody can become an American state citizen, regardless of your nationality. But what makes more is different is what we're going to come to understand even more clearly as you continue to study here and as you continue to your own studies, okay? So again, this is all legal fiction entities, however structured right here, and named after the American states and American state citizens, are returned to them and their control, free and clear of any debt, promise, encumbrance, or obligation alleged against them as a result of false claims made in their behalf by officers of the United States of America And everything that we have done since the time we were born, since the time our mother and father gave us a birth certificate, they have all been for the sole purpose of stealing our inheritance. It's all done for the sole purpose of stealing our inheritance. And that's why it says encumbrances or obligations alleged against them as a result of false claims made on their behalf by officers. Every time you sign anything, you're giving them permission to go into your birth certificate trust, also known as the Sedekavi trust, and use the money that you're supposed to be allowed to live off of. Since the United States filed bankruptcy in 1930, 1933 under President Roosevelt, they were supposed to pay all our bills. And that's where the idea and the teachings of accepted for value come from. Return the debt for the debt instrument, which is a bill that you receive in the mail. Anything that you supposedly owe money on, all of our debt has been prepaid. Okay, and it's telling you this right there, that we are returned debt-free, clear of any debt. Okay. So, and it goes on in the last sentence to say, United States minor or the United Nations city-state falsely claiming to represent them or have jurisdiction over them. Now, when I finish this last paragraph, I'm going to tell you why I believe that the Pope even wrote this letter, okay? So we note that the current circumstances is in part the result of criminal acts engaged in 150 years ago, which resulted in the commercial enslavement of African Americans who were summarily claimed as chattels, backing the United States debt in the wake of the Civil War. I have to read that again. You really have to understand this. We know that the current circumstances, okay, is in part the result of criminal acts engaged in 150 years ago, which resulted in the commercial enslavement of African Americans who were summarily claimed as chattels backing the United States government debt in the wake of the Civil War, despite every act of abolition and declaration of prohibition against both peonage and slavery. It has been the policy of the United States government to enslave its citizens and to operate as a rogue state among the nations of the world. Instead of freeing African Americans, the sum total result of the Civil War was to vastly expand public sector ownership of slaves, giving rise to outrageous and improper claims that have been made against the American states and the American state citizens that we are dealing with today. 2014, it is uniquely fitting that the Grand Army of the Republic is recalled to settle this circumstance in favor of the people. The right to act comes with the responsibility to act. Now, with all that being said, right? Now it says, this notice is by my hand and upon my civil authority set this day, the 4th day of July, 2014. And there's his secretaries. Okay, you know they have secretaries type up their letters, okay. So, and the copies went to Joint Chief of Staff, Major General, other interested parties. Okay, so if you can see the irony of all of this, it's telling the story. And it's explaining to us the reasons why we have, or it's validating for us, how we are and have been mistreated. Okay, so it's validating that for us. Now, I believe that the Pope came out with this disclosure because he realized that the crap was hitting the fan. Okay, now, according to the Bible, anybody who does not stand behind the true Israelites or the true Jews, Israelites, are going to be cast into the pit, you know, and receive the same punishment, you know, as the beast, you know, and the woman that rides the beast, which is the Catholic Church. So this Pope woke up, or was already woke, and knows that what time it is, okay? And so he's trying to rid himself of any obligation, you know, of what has happened for ages. He's telling the truth to clear his own conscience in his own mind and before the Most High. Okay, so this is mostly what I have for you, and I just wanted to say that moving past the Moors and on the subject of voting, our votes let me ask you the question, do you think that our votes really count? Okay, and a recent article, and let me turn this back around for it, says by a recent article by Tom Merce, and you can find that online. He states that there are 530 electoral votes up for grab in every presidential election, but the process of determining how electoral votes are awarded is one of the most complicated and widely misunderstood facts of American presidential elections. The United States Constitution created the Electoral College, but the Founding Fathers had very little to say about how electoral votes are awarded by each of the states. There are 538 electorals, and there are 538 electoral college. There are 538 electors in the Electoral College. To become president, a candidate must win a simple majority of the electors, or 270 in the general election. Electors are important people in each major political party who are chosen by voters to represent them in the selection of a president. Voters don't actually vote directly for the president. They choose electors to vote on their behalf. I didn't know that. Now, this is somebody who's been around. It tells you a little bit. It tells you right here that he's a former political reporter. Okay. So he knows that a lot of times when you are looking at all these commercials on TV and they've got all of us Moors, not proclaimed Moors, you know, telling you to go vote, you're wasting your time, because the president-elect is already determined before the election even occurs. Okay, if I refer you to the United States Code or whatever, there's more information down here. Yeah. There's some more code there that you can look up. I'm going to stop here, and maybe we'll pick it up on a part 2. But the Bible says that we need to come out of Babylon. And the only way to do that, if you're Moor, is I want to say the best way to do that, the best way to do that if you are Moor is by declaring your nationality. And when you declare your nationality, you're saying, this is who I am. I woke up. I know who I am. See, United States citizens are taking a pledge of allegiance to the state that they live in. They get passports, and they are still getting permission from the United States corporate government to exist. We don't want their permission. And the United States, okay, the United States citizens are under the allegiance of their United States, or the state that they live in. And even though the states were sovereign, they're not sovereign anymore. They are all underneath the United States corporation now because they receive funding from them. Okay, and these states have not claimed any sovereignty, which I believe that they can, but they haven't. So if you're a United States citizen, you've done some work and you've come out, good for you, but you have not come out enough. And if you come out enough of Babylon, I applaud you, you know, any efforts that you make. But what's different for Moors, for people of color, is that this is actually our land. Okay, now I'm going to show you what you can do, because there's no sense in telling people what a problem is, okay, unless you have a solution. Okay, when it says that all citizens and people are being used as chattel property, and I mean all people are being used as chattel, meaning slave, you know. a chattel, I'm believing, if I'm correct, if I'm wrong, correct me, is like cattle, the same word, right? So you're seeing old farmers, and they've got these big oxen, and they're whipping them, or they're forcing them, or they're training them to act and behave in a certain way. So chattel property that's how I picture it in my mind. Okay, so there is a Know Your Straw Man video on YouTube that will really help you understand how this all started and how it's all based in the Social Security and Social Security system. Okay, and lastly, I want to say that God appoints kings. Yah, Allah, Yeshua, Yahuwah, Ab. If you look up A-B in the dictionary, Abba is how it is said to be the name of the Father. So Allah is said to be the name that encompasses all the names of God. Yahuwah is the name of the Most High that I came to know and to understand after knowing that Jesus is the white man's God of Christianity, and it's not for us, because from the last year I've been studying ancient Kemet, I find that a lot of the stories in the Bible come straight out of ancient Kemet. I'm sorry if this disturbs you in some way. And it doesn't invalidate the stories, it's just that they have ancient Kemetian names, okay? Like the story of Joseph, and reading this book called The Doggone from the Doggones, okay? And they give history. There's another good history of 101 facts of the... Before I get to the referrals, let me go back down here and make sure I close properly. So, yeah, go under Know Your Straw Man on YouTube. Watch that, please. In Romans 12:1-2, Paul says, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of Yah, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, okay? Okay, he says that, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, okay? So present your bodies and to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And that's what you're doing now by being here. You're transforming yourself, your life, and your understanding. And the decisions that you make today to act on these things are going to change the future for your children and for their children. Okay, sometimes when people see how I changed my last name to L, they say, oh, you're a Moor. Oh, my father was a Moor. How can I declare my nationality? So declaring your nationality is important. Again, I'm going to relate this to religion. When you get baptized and you make a decision to join a church or to join a religion, you get baptized and they tell you the reason why you're doing this is an open proclamation to the public, letting them know that you made a decision to join this church and you decided to give your life to God. When you declare your nationality as a Moor, you're saying, hey, I woke up, I know who I am now. I am rejoining myself and I understand and know that I am Aboriginal, Indigenous, and who I am, as an individual person, as a human being, and so you are letting the world know, you're letting the government know, because you're going to send that paperwork and the declaration to a lot of different, 7 different officers, okay? So this is Romans 12:1-2 says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So join with your tribe and claim, proclaim, and possess your inheritance in your progenitor. If you're a Caucasian, or if you have any Caucasian people or that you're close to, they can also declare their nationality, but they will have to be under the subjection of the Moors, because the Moors have stood up and took authority, whether you realize it or not, over the whole United States of America. And I do honestly believe, without anybody telling me, it's the reason why they're burning, killing, burning our land, is to saying, hey, you want it back, here it is. Kind of like, we do, when we get angry or we get mad because people are waking up. But not all of them are behaving that way. Some of them have known that this day is going to come, that the Moors would wake up, okay? So I'm asking you to consider, doing this so that we can unite as a group of people and not a scattered bunch of, of people here and there doing whatever, or believing certain things, or just knowing but not acting Okay, what did that paper say earlier? Let me go back up a little bit. And I like that. It didn't stick out for me as much as it did before. At the end of that paper, I was reading, not the civil orders. Okay. Okay, it says, oh, I think I passed it. Oh, when I was reading the concurrent resolution, okay, 92. Let me see. Go back a little bit. The truth that will set you free. I want you to go back. If you didn't take notes, I'm sorry. You gotta go back. I should have said get a pencil and paper. You know, but to know is good, but to do is better. You know, and to know and not do is just foolish. And I hope that you have unrest in your soul. You know, continue to read. This is why I said I don't want you to just say Freedom said or Vivian said. I want you to see these things, to know how you can go and look them up for yourself. You know, Congress is fully aware of all the deceptions. Okay, well, let's see. I have some notes here. Okay, I refer you to the United States Code. It is stated unequivocally that the United States is a corporation. If you want to take a picture of that with your phone and look up that United States Code. Title 28. I was going to go show it and read it to you, but for the sake of time, I'll let you do some work too. It's good to come to your own knowledge and your understanding and to see things and to look up things. That way you own them more, you know? So it unequivocally states in that code that the United States is a corporation. It is, and realize too that it is a corporation, that the corporation is not a separate and distinct entity from the government. It is the government, okay? It is the government, your government. This is extremely important. If you're a United States citizen, you should know that you're a corporate citizen, and you are bound to all the duties of a corporate citizen. You're chattel property, you're a slave, you have to pay taxes. They own you, your children, and everything that you produce from your marriage. Everything. Rome and the popes of Rome, under eminent domain, claim the whole world and all its possessions and the souls of men, just as Revelation 18:13 says she would. Write that down. Revelation 18:13 says she would, the woman that rides the beast, meaning the church that would rule the world. And so even though Rome has made this great, tried to make this great proclamation against the United States corporation, she's exactly behind it, because even, oh goodness, there's so many good notes. I'm going to leave, there's another good video that shows you that she's actually the corporate behind it all. She cannot be free from the deeds that have been done to her, or through her, you know. So it says Congress is fully aware of this deception. You must be made aware that the members of Congress do not work for you and me. Rather, they work for the corporation known as the United States. Is this really any surprise to you? This is why we can't get them to do anything on our behalf or to answer to us in this case with the illegal income tax. All I'm saying, people, is, you know, you're wasting your time if you're voting. The best thing that you can do is stand on your square and become a Moorish American national. Claim your nationality, because everybody else has one. But when it comes to us, we're a color. And when you answer those forums for now on, and they want to know what your nationality is, you know, you'll start to see the fraud. You know, so did you know that there is a fake you, which is called the person, and your straw man? You'll find all of that out in the Know Your Straw Man video. And I wanted to say that God appoints kings in the Old Testament, that we were under prophets and judges. Okay, but then the people wanted a king and started praying, I believe, to, was it to not Moses, or after him in the book of Kings? They started praying for a king to lead them. And basically it says that, okay, I meant to look up that scripture, but I didn't. So read the book of Kings, and you'll see how the history of kings and from kings became presidents, and how we became subject to man. If we had been obedient to the Most High and allowed ourselves to continue to be ruled by kings and prophets, not kings, I'm sorry, prophets and judges. The prophets and the judges were assigned by the Most High to watch over us. Okay, so that's all I have for today. I'm going to post this video. It'll be here when I'm done, and I'm going to post it on my website along with this transcript, so you can look under my blog. Yeah, so, and it says a primogenitor. Okay, join your tribe, claim, proclaim, and possess your inheritance and primogenitor. It says in the document. So if you go on the Moorish American Consulate.org, you'll see all the forms that you need. And the progenitor means, and I looked that up, it is the right by law or custom of the firstborn legitimate child to inherit the parent's entire or main estate, if preference should inheritance among all or some of the children, any illegitimate children or collective or collateral relative. And in most contexts, it means inheritance of the firstborn son. And it can also mean daughter. So I am tired of talking, and you're probably tired of listening. So you can take notes here if you have any questions. I'm going to show you the PDF that I have open already of the paperwork. One of them that you would file would be the declaration, and it's already done for you. So you don't have to worry about how to do it. You just follow a link. If you want me to email you these papers, I can email you a copy. And I'll also send you a copy to the grid with all the other information you would know how to declare your nationality. This is a judicial notice and proclamation. Okay. Let's vote for us. I guess that's the ending of my message. You know, as long as you continue to vote, you continue to claim your status as a United States citizen. So get out of the system. The last thing we did was the termination of all corporate contracts, and I'm doing video tutorials and putting them on my website or on my blogspot, and I can leave references for that as well. So it tells you a little history there of the Moorish American history. And it's not just for you, the Great Seal Pyramid and all these things we've been taught to fear. You know, the Great Pyramid I was told was evil, you know, and the dollar and everything that points back to ancient Kemet is because they stole everything from us. You know, all the things that you see, you know, are from the way to govern. They, you know, how to take care of themselves, their bodies. They didn't even know how to clean themselves with soap, and the story just goes on and on. So here's the form. So basically you want to download it. This is one of them. There's also a 2-page document. This is 8 pages. Read it well. I went over it in the video, so you can go over the video, and I explain everything that's there, and look up any word that you don't understand. And so this says, and this affiant or natural being and proper persona does not abandon any of my estate rights, nor do I waive any substantive rights, does not transfer power of attorney to any foreigner, and does not willingly consent to any public trial or ministerial hearing in colorable tribunal venue or involvement with any non-Article 3, so etc. You're saying who you are and who you are not. And you're including factual information like some of these codes. Actually, the one I read to you earlier is from here, from out of here. So they're giving you more information. Look up those codes and study them so that you don't have to just do things blindly. And most of all, don't do it out of fear. You know, do it with a clear heart and a clear mind. Pray about it. Ask your, you know, your spirit to guide you. So, and also read the rights of indigenous peoples. Executive order. There's so much, and you can take your time, you know, just do the basics, understand what nationality is, study these documents, because in it you'll find pretty much a lot of the stuff that you need to know. And then you'll sign it, you'll choose a new appellation, you'll change your last name or appellation to El Bay, and they have some other choices in the document that you can choose from. Okay, but this is how you start the road to freedom. You know, one of my original songs that I wrote is Freedom. I'm trying to get some time so I could record it and use it and in a lot of these videos and stuff. So it says freedom is, it's not free. You know, freedom is not free. Somebody had to fight. Somebody had to die. Somebody had to live. Somebody had to fight. Somebody had to pray. Somebody had to cry. Somebody had to march. Somebody had to die for your freedom, for our freedom. And this is why they're telling you to vote. What has voting actually done for you? Ask yourself that question in all honesty, and then see if you can answer it. So here is where you will put your new appellation. We don't use names. Those are corporate terms. And you have 2 Moors witness it. Okay, and you can look for Moors in your area and the consulate, the Moorish American consulate. Real quick, let me show you that grid. When this dumb program wouldn't work for me, I was supposed to be doing screen sharing, and I've used it before. It was just being evil today because I didn't want you guys to get this message, but you got it anyway. What am I doing? Oh, okay. I'm going to show you the website where you go to, and it has every step that you take to get your stuff out of the hands of the system. You want to go to the Moorish, and mine's hopefully it'll just pop right up right there because I'm on it all the time. Moorish American Consulate, and when you get there, you want to go on the grid. Okay, so. And the grid is where you'll find all the forms. But if you go on the website, unless they changed it on the home page, you'll slide to the bottom. And it will have a link. I can't believe this page is taking so long to load. This is exactly what I was going through all day. And I've never had this problem before. But this page maybe has a lot of information. But I couldn't get on Facebook on my laptop today. You know, and like, I was praying, you know, for everything to go smoothly. You know, I just wanted it to be perfect for you guys, you know, so that didn't happen. So I hope that you enjoyed this presentation anyway, and that we will not be defeated as individuals. We will not be defeated as a nation, as a people, and we will unite together to take back what is ours. Okay, so the Moorish American Consulate here, this is their grid, this is their website. Now, they have offices all around. This is Moorish American Consulate main website, and you can go to your location, but the forms are the same. Nationality is the order of the day, right there. Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Proclaim your nationality there, and it's going to take you to the form I just showed you. But I want to show you everything that's been done. You may have not been on this website for a while, so this grid is an outline on the steps that you take to continually get out of the system. Okay, so first you're going to do the Moorish American Consulate nationality process right here and procedures, the lawful notice, name, declaration, and correction proclamation in 2 pages. Then you're going to, that's the new page, sorry. This is the process and procedure. So it's going to tell you how to do what you're going to do. And you'll probably be nervous. And so you'll have some questions. And so that's why I made video, because I still had some questions. Okay, so you're going to order your nationality card for yourself and your ears. And that's $35. Everything else is free. You can get it from other Moors too, if you do some searching online, but you can do everything from here. So after that, it says nationality is free. Alloidial processing is $35 for stamping and sealing. Then they, after you get it back, you get a Moorish American Consulate number, which will, any organization that wants to question whether or not you've actually declared your nationality will be able to contact the Moorish American Consulate, and they'll be able to verify that you have made that declaration. So I want to say more, but I don't want to, you know, basically. So you send it right here. It tells you what to do. So then after that, you're going to do a trust, the Declaration of Sovereign Moorish Trust. And they have documents that you can use, and you're going to just like it, you know, put your name in there, or you can kind of read it and modify it to fit your own individual circumstances and needs. Okay. And then they have all the cover letters that you would need For recording it with the county, you can still mail them in or try and upload it to the website. But according to Light to Jerry Bay, who I used as a guide and very knowledgeable, informative woman, you know, with a great spirit. I just really love her and, you know, admire her work. And she's continually teaching and lecturing for us and for you and me. So she says that these corporations are closing and they're not going to open back up. And that since we have done a lot of the paperwork, declared eminent domain and took the power back, put it back in our own hands, that we are the only lawful government on the land now. Okay, so everything that you see about the voting and on the news, everything is fake. They're just going through the motions. They're just trying to hang on. They're hanging on by a thread. They don't own anything anymore. Moors are terminating all corporate contracts. They're putting a lien on the birth certificate and the social security number. And it tells you how to do that here too. So you remove here also all of your de facto cases to the Moorish American Consular Court. You can do that. No, I don't have any of those. Trafficking, you can make all of your titles to your car and your home alloidial, which means lawful. In the government, they use the term legal, but we use the word lawful. So you can get a copy here of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship here. Okay. Notice of existence to the Moors that you want to use to send to any corporation that you're having any dealings with. Okay, affidavit of Universal Commercial Code. Okay, a financing statement is everything that these people are doing under the UCC1. The Moors are doing it here because in the United States Code, it actually says that if you are under a treaty, then you do not need to file a UCC1 because you're Aboriginal and you're indigenous. You know, and so early on I found out that the United States did not recognize or never intended for so-called black people to be United States citizens. And I was angry about it. And after I continued to study, I really believe it's because we are under a treaty. And you might not know it. So if you're not claiming yourself and letting them know that you're under the treaty, I can't wait for us to start using some of these things. And what I want to do is get a group of people together who actually want to start, you know, holding these cops responsible who are killing our people, you know, using the treaty and liens through the documents that we have here, you know, available to us as sovereigns, because only sovereigns can lien, and we cannot be liened back in return. You know, so lien all of the heirs and assigns as a way to fight back. The pen is mightier than the sword. You know, and though we are doing a lot of these things, you have heard throughout your life that the revolution will not be televised. The revolution is happening right now. Either you're going to be a part of it or you're not. It's that simple, you know. So the next step would be a alloidial possession of property process. So you have all the documents here for you to make your house lawfully yours, not legal. So they have all the documents there that you need for that. I haven't done that yet. We just finished the termination of corporate contracts. And so now you're going to do the lien on your, I think it tells you to do that up here. Yeah, right here under number 1. Lien the straw man and the social security number. Okay, and put both liens into your Moorish sovereign trust. Okay. So when you lien your straw man, you're leaning your corporate name in all capital letters, which is what every debt instrument is sent to you in. That's not even the real you. You're a human. You're not a person. You're a human being, if I can use that term. Okay, so your straw man is the fake you that owes debt. That's a corporate citizen to the United States. Everything is all capital letters. And your social security number, you're going to lien that. You're going to become the first lien holder on your birth certificate. And this is going to make you the first lien holder on your social security number. Okay. And you're going to put those document numbers into your trust. Okay. So these will take you a little bit of time. And so hopefully I will, or you can find other Moors to guide you along the way. And a lot of them, you can go here and read for yourself. There's a lot of documents. So on the first part of the grid, and like I said, this wasn't here when I first got started, so I'm going backwards kind of and doing some of these things here now. Here's a lot of affidavits for you to use for the trust, for the UCC1 lien documents. Okay, even here, okay, the right to travel, covenant estoppel and execution, international affidavit on the right to travel, because you shouldn't need to have a license to travel, not drive. Travel is the word that we use, so you'll find different terminologies that you use. Okay, a Lloydio Aboriginal Paramount Clear Perfect title, and that would be for your vehicle. A Lloydio Pure Title Contract Bill of Sale for your vehicle. Okay, writ of acceptance of removal to the Moorish American Court, Consular Court. So if you have any cases in the fake system, then you will send these papers to have them sent over to Moorish American Consulate, because you're no longer using their services, their fraudulent services. Now here's the affidavit of clear, perfect alloidial land titles. Okay, some people, you know, early days were using other methods to, or like just going into a house and occupying it, you know, as Moors. And then you see these horrible stories of how their outcomes go. Maybe they ended up in jail or incarcerated. But there's a proper way to do things. And so we have the Moors, and I appreciate everything that they have done here. And yet I hear some other Moors criticizing and bashing them. And when I say that, I'm not saying it to talk bad about the other Moors. I'm just saying it so that you can be aware that you might find this out there. But this is the same thing that you find in other venues too in the world. So just try and focus on what's good, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest. People have good characters and a good report. If there be any virtue and if there be any praise, think on these things. Okay, so it's everything that you would need to change your life over. Everything that you don't understand, you'll find here. And down now, you're going to come down to, it says education links classes coming soon. And that's been there for a long time, which is why I've been trying to do it myself, okay? Whatever I don't understand, I, get information from Moors who've already done the process. And so I'll be putting those in my videos. VivianGale.com. Okay, you can find that there. So these are the grid. On the top, it tells you everything that's available. Now on the second half, it'll actually allow you to download the forms that you need. And it's really simple. You just click here. Lawful name declaration. If you change your corporate name to indigenous name like Bay, Day, El. Okay, like Muhammad Ali. Ali is another one. Affidavit of Universal Commercial Code. I have so much updating to do on my website, so I apologize. There's a book that will help you understand appellations, or what we would formally call names, that you can choose and what they mean. Okay, so cover letters, everything that you need, your document for your sovereign trust, everything that you need is here. What they call human trafficking would be people who are in jail that you want to help get out, or maybe you're in jail and you want to get out. And so you go through this paperwork and fill it out, and these forms will help you, declare your nationality. And it's not going to be like they're going to say, oh, you declare your nationality, we're going to let you out of jail. No, you have to prove, and you have to prove who you are, that you know who you are, stand on your square, and, do the process so that you can fight for your freedom. Like I said, ain't nobody going to give it to you. Okay, you have to take it. Even the Bible says when the saints will take the kingdom. Okay, and this is how us saints are taking the kingdom. I've seen Jewish people, everybody online now saying who we really are. There are Jewish people online saying we're not the real Jews. I've seen apologies to black people in France, dignitaries on stages with groups of African Americans getting down on their knees. Alloidial possession or property possession. So there's no excuse, guys. You know what I'm saying? There is no excuse anymore. you're not the only one doing it, you know. And so after you get done, you want to put it on the public record. You can either load it here, or you can, I use, there's a Facebook page that you can upload your documents to. I use blogspot.com, and I apologize if this video is longer than what you wanted it to be. But, you know, I just, one of my early bosses told me that I had a save the world syndrome. You know, and if I do have a save the world syndrome, it's because I've been through a lot of crap in my life, you know, and nobody ever helped me, you know anything or get to another step, you know, in my life where I could have more peace. I had to do everything myself, you know, like I said. You know, I grew up in a family with 7 children in the church, and then somehow I ended up getting abandoned, you know, 12, you know, I ended up in foster care. You know, different foster care homes seem like every 2 weeks, you know, and going through high school, you know, just without my family. We're 7 kids, and all of a sudden I was just separated from them all, and, you know, had to figure out a lot of things on my own. So, yeah, you know, I'm a helper. You know, I want to help people, you know, get their freedom. And that's why my business is called the Personal Freedom Center, because I said I would find freedom for myself. Okay, that I was going to name my business the Personal Freedom Center. And myself, freedom actually is my chosen appellation, and some people who make ID won't change my appellation to freedom, because they say it's not a real Moorish American appellation. But as sovereigns, we can do whatever we want, and that's the name I chose because, like I said, I've been through a lot. And I was already using that appellation or name in the world as a performer when I was sing and, you know, perform out in public. So there's so much, this is the beginning for you. And this is a great video for you to be able to share with people who don't know and people who you want to reach. You know, might not have the time or the words. Okay, so here you go. I thank you all for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please like this video. There was a lot of opposition in getting it up and, you know, and getting it done, but I'm grateful that I didn't give up and that you guys are here and share it. Okay, it's going to take a minute to download, and I'll share some really good resources with you too after the video is done downloading later on, maybe a couple hours. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, everybody who is more has done this already. And some of the steps I did with fear and trembling, I was afraid that, you know, like, you know, they're going to say, oh, you can't do this, you know, but that never happened. And people who are doing these things are not getting in trouble. With one case of Tracy Gilbay, who you know, is having her own struggles for her own personal reasons I don't clearly understand. And they use that one person to try and deter all the Moors from taking, you know, back what is theirs. But courageously, we just muddle on. We continue to pursue. And don't vote, because every action that you do as like voting, signing forms for anything, you're putting yourself back into the corporation. Okay, you're saying I'm a corporate citizen and you don't know who you are. And so we want to show that we are awake and that we are aware and that we are wise and that we know who we are and we are powerful and we are standing in our truth. And we want to do that together. So the more of us that stand together, band together, we can stop the craziness. We can help stop our people from getting murdered. And my idea, if you want to join me and learn how to do liens on these cops and all the heirs that are in their families so that they don't continue to, you know, to kill our people, because everywhere I go and everywhere I look, there's fewer of us around, you know, and it's really scary. I don't know if it's like that where you domicile, but it's like that here in Washington, and it was always like that, but I feel like it's getting even worse. So wake up and declare your nationality, and don't be afraid. You're not by yourself. You're not alone. You don't have to do this alone. I'm out. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, go on my website, viviangale.com, go on YouTube, and I have some different channels. My older ones are more spiritually based. After I came out of religion and I was seeking, and I found that started out as the inner sanctum. And then I started to brand myself, you know, trying to be like all these corporate life coaches and everything. So then I changed it to Vivian Gale. I think I might change it back to the inner sanctum because that's how it was given to me. Then the Personal Freedom Center will be separate. It will have more of these videos that you might consider more radical. I know my kids call me what do they call me? Conspiracy theorist. So you can debunk the conspiracy theorist when you can back up what you're saying with facts. And I hope that's what I've done here today. And if you want to call me a conspiracy theorist, thank you. And I hope that I have shared everything that I've shared to you with love and with peace, with wisdom, and that you will forgive anyone who doesn't share their information with love, peace, and wisdom. And blessings, all praise to the Most High. Peace out.